Hello guys, welcome back to the Casual Wrestling Reviews. I'm the Casual Wrestling Fan, and today we will continue our review of WrestleMania 39. So last time we reviewed Night 1 of WrestleMania 39, and today we're going to review Night 2 of WrestleMania 39. And honestly guys, WrestleMania 39 Night 1 was a very good showing. I think they had very good matches, and they ended up with a high note with, again, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn winning the WWE Universal Tag Team Championships. Now we have Night 2 of WrestleMania 39, and it started off with Brock Lesnar versus Omas. Now, again, Omas hasn't been doing this a long time, so you'd expect them to book the match very short. A short match would have been fine for both of them. A short and efficient match that shows Omos' strength and hide his weaknesses at the same time, while showing that Brock is still has some left in his tank, because again, Brock is already 45 years old. He's been doing this a very long time, and it would not surprise me if Brock is going to hang it up very soon. But yeah, as to the match, first of all, I'd like to say, when Omos and Brock got into the ring and went for the face-to-face, there was a clear size difference between them, and they really highlighted this even through the build-up towards this match at WrestleMania. They highlighted that Omos was about 7'4" and Brock was only 6'3", and don't get me wrong, Brock, he's a big human being, but next to Omos, he got dwarfed. Like, he's a foot shorter than Omos, literally a foot shorter. Then, as to the match, Omos started showing his strength. He did multiple fall-away slams to Lesnar easily. And then after the fall-away slams, he did another power slam. And at this point, again, Omos is green. But for this match, his slams did really look good at the start. So I think the work has been paying off for him. But again, he's still green. So I think as a booker and as the one who laid out the match, they had to try to mask his deficiencies in the ring. So, but his slams look good for what they were. And then after the slams, he bear hugged Lesnar and then gave him more slams. Eventually, of course, Lesnar tries his comeback, but Omos foils that one again with another power slam. And then once Lesnar got his chance, he did multiple German suplexes. And at this point, he sold his back because, again, at the start of the match, Omos was giving Lesnar multiple fall-away slams, multiple power slams, and a bear hug as well. So Lesnar sold his back, and when he did do those German suplexes, the crowd popped because they built it up correctly. And again, this match did not overstay its welcome, and it did what it was supposed to do. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, right? So the finish of the match was Brock tried to F5 Omos, but Brock's back gave out, and then he tried it again. The second time, he was able to execute the F5, and then he pinned Omos. 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar gets the win. My comments about the match, it was a quick match, but I think it was the correct thing to do from a booking standpoint, because again, you don't want to see Omos' deficiencies in the ring, because that would only take away from the optics of him being a very big, imposing guy, right? And for me, the match really made sense because, again, Brock Lesnar, for all his strength, he's a foot shorter than Omos, so it made sense for Omos to be dominant at the start, and for Lesnar to gradually build up his strength and hit Omos with a surprise F5. So, good quick match to open up WrestleMania Night 2. Then we had, again, the second match here is the Women's Showcase match, and the participants are... and then the next match in the card was the Women's Showcase Tag Team match. The participants here were Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, Shotzi and Natalia, Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, and Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. And honestly, I think they put it in there because it was a filler match for a bigger match that was to come later on. And also, honestly, I didn't really care for this match because again, there was no build. It was just put in there to give the fans, I think, give the fans time to rest and recharge for the next match. As to the comments and recap about the match, at the start when all teams came out, no one got a reaction. The crowd was dead, and again they started off like any tag team match. Natalia did a double sharpshooter on Green and DeVille's at some point in the match, which was I think the highlight of the match. And the finish was Rousey tapped out Shotzi with her patented armbar. And it was funny because it was also a funny visual because Baszler lost her shoe at some point in the match, or I mean her boot. So when Rousey eventually tapped out Shotzi with the armbar, the crowd booed because again, Rousey's a heel and they're booing her. But honestly, I think they're booing Rousey not because that they like her heel work, but more of get out of here because it seems like Rousey is not interested in being in the WWE anymore and she is checked out. That's my feeling. I don't know. Let me know what you think about Rousey's performance here, guys, or this women's showcase match in general. But I definitely didn't enjoy it. I thought, again, the match did not make any sense. And when you have so many teams involved in the mix, it can really get rough and it can really get confusing at times. And it's hard to follow the action. And the crowd was not engaged here. And yeah, that was it. For me, it was just a rotten match, honestly. And again, as I said, the previous match was the women's showcase match, and I think it was just put there to set up the bigger matches later on in the card. And true enough, the next match was Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Now, thoughts about the match. Again, Sheamus and McIntyre started off the match, and then Gunther at some point blindsided them and delivered some very brutal chops. And I must say, I put in my notes that Gunther's chops and kicks look really good and like they really look like they hurt, and they probably did hurt, right? And then after some time, after the shuffle, it was then McIntyre and Gunther's exchanges. Again, the thing about triple threats or three-way matches is that it feels like all three of them are never in the ring at the same time, which I think kind of defeats the purpose of the triple threat match. At certain points in the match, they would just have two competitors in the ring with one competitor laying on the floor or not even in the shot of the match. That kind of takes away from me again of the purpose of the triple threat, which is to make sure that there are three competitors there who are exchanging blows and who create really pandemonium there because there are three competitors instead of two. But I think if you put only two competitors there with one lying on the floor, it takes away from the essence of the triple threat match. And I understand they kind of have to do that maybe because it's harder to lay out a 3-man match as compared to a normal 2-man match. So, but I wish that they could have involved the three individuals more. Anyway, going back to the match, McIntyre and Gunther exchange chops, and again, the chops were brutal, I have to say, and this really got the crowd into it. It felt like they were really in a big brawl, and when you look at the match, you could really say that I don't want to get hit by that, and that's not something I'd want to get hit with, right? So that was a good visual again. It was a recurring theme over the match. And then of course Sheamus makes his comeback, and then he executes the 10 beats of the Badron, Barden or Badron. I don't know how you say it, but the 10 beats. Let's call it the 10 beats. But again, what was different here was that instead of Sheamus only executing the 10 beats on Gunther, Sheamus and McIntyre alternated beats or 10 beats on Gunther. So again, that was a fun visual. After that, Sheamus then did the 10 beats on McIntyre. And my thing is that I'm not sure if this is the rule, but the ref didn't count him off when he started doing more than 10 beats. I think he did 29 to 30 beats, and yeah, it did get a good crowd reaction. But again, I think it kind of bears the referee, because you would think that um, if you did 29 to 30 chops on a person on the ropes, the ref would start counting, right? Unless it's a unless the rule was no disqualification, and they didn't make it clear here if it was no disqualification. So let me know what you thought of that spot, guys. You can always comment down below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Anyway, continuing in the match, McIntyre eventually got a future shock DDT on Gunther, and then he went for the Claymore, but Gunther reversed it and moved out the way. Then Gunther hit McIntyre with a powerbomb, which is his finisher. Then, of course, because it's WrestleMania, McIntyre kicks out of that powerbomb. Then Sheamus got back into the shuffle with Gunther. Sheamus hit his white noise off the second rope, which got a big pop. Then he hit the Celtic Cross on Gunther, but Gunther kicks out of that one. Then Sheamus did the cloverleaf on Gunther. But when he was doing the cloverleaf on Gunther, McIntyre then moves back into the ring and chinlocks Sheamus, which allows Sheamus to break the cloverleaf he had on Gunther, right? Then eventually Sheamus, when he was able to recover, he went for the brogue kick against Gunther, and he hit that brogue kick. But when he went for the cover, McIntyre pulled his leg, so the referee was not able to complete his 3 count, preventing Sheamus from winning. And then McIntyre and Sheamus made the face off, and at this point the crowd was really into it, and they got "This is awesome" chants from the crowd. And again, McIntyre and Sheamus duked it out. McIntyre went off the top rope to the floor, which got "Holy SHIT" chants from the crowd. And again, this, I think, highlighted the fact that McIntyre going off the top rope in such a big match was more special, right? Because in normal matches or in an episode of SmackDown or Raw, you wouldn't see Drew McIntyre going off the top rope. And I think it makes it, again, all the more special because he pulls out this type of move in big matches, which emphasizes and which highlights the gravity of the match or the importance of the match. And I think those are how those spots should be used. They shouldn't be used frequently, right? They should be used in special occasions. And I think McIntyre did a good job of pulling this move off at this point. And that's why it got the Holy SHIT chance again. And it was not a move that didn't make sense, unlike some other high flyers who think that doing 100 moves in a span of 5 minutes is the way to get the crowd invested in the match. The fact is that might get the crowd popping for the specific moves or the moves that you do, but they do not get the crowd into the match itself. So that was a good spot by McIntyre. Then eventually McIntyre goes again for the Claymore, but then he gets brogued by Sheamus. Sheamus covers McIntyre, but McIntyre kicks out. Another false finish here. Next, then of course McIntyre hit the Claymore to Sheamus, but another kick out. So again, another false finish. Then another brogue by Sheamus, but this time when Sheamus was covering McIntyre after the brogue, Gunther comes off the top rope, out of the screen onto the screen, and splashes Sheamus while McIntyre was under Sheamus from the top rope. This got a big pop, and then Gunther powerbombs Sheamus into McIntyre. Then Gunther powerbombs McIntyre himself. He pins McIntyre 1, 2, 3, and they got a standing ovation from the announcers and the crowd because again it was a hot match. It was a good match, and it was just an all-out brawl, physical brawl. Comments about the match: again, a very physical match. Maybe at the end there were a little too many false finishes, but I may be nitpicking here. Because I think they could have ended it earlier with the multiple brogues or the multiple claymores, but I understand that they wanted Gunther to keep the title, so they had to make the finish much more special. But it was really a brawl, and the crowd wanted to see a brawl between these three, and that's what they gave them. That's why the crowd was very happy. Overall, a very good match, and again, at the end of it, the crowd and the announcers were standing at the end, which is definitely a good sign. And then we had the WWE Raw Women's Championship match between Asuka and Bianca Belaire. So recap about the match. During their entrances, Asuka came in with multiple masked people who imitated her movements, and eventually the last person to come out of that entrance was her, and she removed her mask, did her whole tongue thing, tried to be scary. Oh yeah, usual Asuka moves. And then from Bianca Belaire, she came out with a host of little cute dancers who all had long hair just like her, and I think they did a good job of dancing to Bianca's song. And then that was a cool little thing to have them send out Bianca to the ring. Right. And as for the match itself, Bianca Belaire started really strong and laid into Asuka, giving her multiple moves, trying to show her power. And I think this was the right start because, again, Belaire is perceivably much more stronger physically than Asuka, so that makes sense there. And then eventually Asuka made her comeback, and I have to say though that during their exchanges, both of them looked really sharp, and Belaire's moves looked really sharp. At some point, Bianca attempted a moonsault into the ropes onto Asuka while Asuka was on the ringside, but then Asuka then caught Bianca in the Asuka lock when Belaire attempted that moonsault. So that was a good spot, a very smooth spot. And then they continued to fight on the floor for some time. During this match, there was a recurring theme where Bianca actually attempted several somersaults or somersaults onto the ropes, trying to slam Bianca on the floor, but she would be usually caught by a how do you call that? An ankle lock. Yes, an ankle lock when Bianca would attempt these moonsaults onto the ropes, and that was a recurring theme that Bianca just couldn't get that moonsault move. Eventually, though, Belaire hit Asuka with a suplex from the second rope while Asuka was on the apron. So that was a nice spot. It wasn't super clean though, but because Asuka kind of slipped when she tried to hit the suplex, but she got it there. I mean, Asuka kind of slipped when Bianca tried to hit the suplex. Wasn't super clean again, but she was able to do it. And then a little back and forth between the two. Then Bianca attempted her springboard moonsault again in the ring, which finally connected after, again, the previous two attempts were full with submissions by Asuka. But eventually Asuka hit Bianca with a code breaker. Then after Bianca was able to recover, Bianca then attempted a glam slam, Beth Phoenix's maneuver, to Asuka onto the turnbuckle face first. However, at some point when Belaire was attempting her signature move, the KOD, Belaire hit the ref, which allowed Asuka to attempt the mist. She's been doing that for the past few months already, the mist. But then, when she attempted to hit Belaire with the mist, Belaire was able to duck. And when that happened, Bianca attempted the KOD again. When she attempted the second KOD, it was again countered by Asuka into a armbar. And after this, the crowd was really hot because at this point they thought Asuka would make Bianca tap, which I think Bianca has not yet done in her career. referring to tapping out. Um, but during while in the armbar, Belaire showed her power and was able to hoist Asuka up for the KOD. Bianca pins Asuka 1, 2, 3, and Bianca Belaire retains the WWE Raw Women's Championship. Comments about the match: the match started slow, and overall it was an okay match. There were a lot of sloppy moves here and there because I think they were trying to get a little bit too complicated with the spots, but they were able to pull it off. It had a very good finish with a series of moves from the KOD to the counter into the arm lock or arm bar by Asuka, and then to the power up from the arm bar into the KOD by Bianca Belaire. So that was a very good match. Again, overall, I think it was had a bad first half of the match, a good finish, and the winner for me was correct, and it was expected because I think this really sets up Bianca Belaire versus Rhea Ripley later on. I think at some point they will try to unify the women's championship from the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship to like a WWE Women's Universal Championship, similar to Roman Reigns. So the winner was very expected, and it was. If I were to rate the match, it was an above average match, I guess. And next we had again a cool down segment involving The Miz and Snoop Dogg. And guys, tune in for this one because this was a it was a very funny segment, and me describing it through this audio recap and review will not do this segment justice. It was probably one of the funniest segments in WWE histories. I wouldn't even call it a segment; I'd call it a blooper. So again, Miz comes out there talking about the attendance record, about over the 2 days, Wrestlemania was attended by over 160,000 people. Then again, Miz confronts Snoop Dogg about the impromptu match the previous night with Miz and Pat McAfee, and just as again Snoop Dogg was trying to play the matchmaker, Shane McMahon came out, and Shane when he got out there didn't really get the pop that I think he was expecting, but it was a fairly loud pop, I guess, and he looked physically good, and you would expect when he came out that he was going to have a match with Miz, just like how Pat McAfee had a match with Miz the previous night. So yes, and that's what happened. They had a one-on-one match, and Shane, I guess he was trying to show the crowd. This is funny. Shane was trying to show the crowd he was physically fit and he could do wrestling moves. So he did a leapfrog spot where he jumped as high as he could. Miz ducked under the leapfrog, and then Miz went off the ropes. And just as he was trying to do the up and under where he crouches down, his quad gave out, and it was so funny because when that happened, you knew that Miz was shocked, and he was just keeping that smug face like, I'm gonna kill you, Shane, but I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna wait for the advice of the gorilla position, and so that I know what to do. Eventually, Snoop Dogg makes a good impromptu call, and then he gets into the ring. He said, hey man, Miz, you can't do this like that, this can't end like this, and he floors Miz, and he floors Miz again with a second punch. And I think he was told by Miz at some point, hey, hit me, right? And then after this, he did his own version of the people's elbow, throwing the glasses into the crowd. It was probably one of the stiffest people's elbows I've seen, and then he pinned Miz 1, 2, 3. A very funny segment, and I hope Shane is okay. I think he really hurt his quad, and poor Shane, he just came back and he has to step away from WWE again to recover. And one of the biggest bloopers in WWE history. But good on Snoop Dogg for pivoting the way that he did and making something good or funny out of a already bad situation. And then the next match on the cards, we had Edge versus the Demon Finn Balor in Hell in a Cell. So, Edge went out in his Brood Edge entrance. So yeah, there was a lot of color red there, and he came out with a mask, and his old Brood entrance music had bat wings for some reason, and and then it transitioned into his "You Think You Know Me" song. On this day, I see clearly, all that stuff. And then, Finn Balor then came out in his demon outfit. This time it was remixed with his Judgment Day colors, so it was red and purple. And he kind of did a weird dance. I'm not sure if he does that often as the demon, but he kind of did a weird dance with the incense. It looked awkward. It seemed like Finn had not been doing that entrance in a long time, and yeah, because I think the last time we saw the demon Finn Balor was on when he faced off against Brock Lesnar for the WWE Universal Championship, which he lost. But it was just nice to see, I guess, the Demon Finn Balor back. But maybe maybe he still needs to work on his entrance there. It's kind of weird. And then when they started off the match, they went to the weapons right away. And again, this is a Hell in a Cell match, and they wanted to, I think, highlight or emphasize the brutality of the match. So Balor went for the kendo sticks, and Edge went for the chairs, which were conveniently colored red. The kendo sticks were purple, by the way, just to highlight the Judgment Day versus the Brood color. So they went into that match with weapons right away. And then when Edge hit Balor with a chair shot, Balor no-sold the chair shot again, owing to his Demon Finn Balor alter ego, which for some reason is not susceptible to any sort of pain. And then they went to the floor by the ringside, and there was a cool spot there when Balor was trapped on the cage. He was trapped with kendo sticks. And so Edge placed him on the side of the cage, and he trapped Finn Balor with two kendo sticks. And then Edge drop kicked into Balor while Balor was still stuck in the kendo sticks. And then Edge got the table, which was, again, it was color purple. The top part of the table was color purple, which was kind of weird. They could have just gone with a normal color tables, but they, I guess, decided to match the motif of the match, which made it kind of fake. And after that, eventually, after the table spots, they went back into the ring and back into the apron again, this time with Balor on the attack and Edge on the defensive. After Balor drove Edge onto the back of his head to the table outside, which he previously set up, and then they went back into the ring. Edge caught Balor with a kill switch, or the unprettier, which was, of course, Edge's partner's move, Christian. And then Edge went for the spear, but Balor countered with an inside cradle. Edge then pulls out a ladder and just throws it off Balor's head. And at this point, if you look at the replay, it really went off Balor's head hard. So the refs had to check on Balor, and he was really cut open. And then they didn't show Balor. Because again, this is kind of still a PG product. They just cut the camera to Edge's face and did not show Balor while the medical staff was attending to Finn Balor. And apparently, the medical staff, because Finn Balor was cut open pretty well, they had to staple his cut on his head and also give him some numbing shots so that he could continue on in the match. Because again, it would be weird for him not to continue in on the match, considering he was in his Finn Balor demon gimmick, and because it was Hell in a Cell match, right? So it would have buried him if he did not, or if he was not able to continue on in the match. So that's why they kept the camera off him. Eventually, he was able to regroup though and make a comeback on Edge. So good on him for soldiering through the big cut. And then he was able to hit the coup de grace from the top rope, but Edge kicked out. And then Balor tried to climb off on top of the ladder and then um um onto the cage actually. And there was a platform on the middle part of the cage. So that was kind of cool spot, but it makes you question why was a platform there at all, right? So kind of made it fake again. But I guess they were trying for the big spot. So he climbed up in the middle part of the cell and again attempted the coup de grace off the table. Edge moved away and Balor crashed onto the table because the table was set up in the middle of the ring and he wanted to coup de grace Edge from the middle part of the cage onto the ring while Edge was laying on the table. But again, Edge was able to move out of the way and then Edge hit a spear. But again, the Demon Finn Balor kicked out, and after that, Edge gave a series of chair and kendo shots to Finn Balor, and then to finish him off, he gave his signature concerto where a chair is laying on the mat, and then it's Finn Balor's head in the middle of it like a sandwich, and then Edge hits him with another chair, so it's like chair head to chair hit, and then Edge covers Finn Balor 1, 2, 3, and then Edge wins. So again, honestly, the match was underwhelming. I thought it was a rotten match, and they relied too heavily on weapons here and didn't really utilize the cage, considering that it was a Hell in a Cell match. So I understand that there had to be some sort of brutality in the match, but instead of using the weapons, they could have just used the cage instead and emphasized that it was a Hell in a Cell match. Otherwise, they could have just gone with a TLC match or something that utilized or a match where you're supposed to utilize tables and chairs and candlesticks more than the cage itself. So kind of underwhelming. It was probably my second least favorite match of the night after the women's showcase. So I just hope that the Edge versus Judgment Day storyline is over because I feel like it's been overdone, and Edge with how many years, however, are left with him in WWE, I think he should utilize it. He should be utilized to get over talent in the upper card already. So yeah, because I think that's where his value lies at this point in his career. He doesn't need to win the championship anymore. Maybe feud with Rhodes later on down the road. That would be nice, considering that they kind of have history there. So yeah, I didn't like this match. And then, guys, we're on to the main event: Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship. So thoughts and recap about the match. So Rhodes came out and sang to his song. Wrestling has more than one royal family, all of that. So he then goes on to ringside where there's Brandy and her daughter is also there. So that was a nice touch there. And Luke Harper's son was also there, who's known as, I think, -2 in AEW. And again, this is the ultimate babyface underdog move, which made you expect that he's probably going to win the chip that night because his family was there. And then, of course, his song is so over because people like the whoa, all that. So he whenever that line in the song came on, the crowd was so into it. And they were into it because I think they were really ready to see Rhodes win the big chip. And then Roman Reigns came out with his entrance, and he was out there with Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman. And his entrance was preceded by 6 big organ pianos there, playing the, I think, introduction of his song, the Tribal Chief song. So the pianos were not so clear, and I think there was no added value for them to be there except just spend money and just show the extravagance of Wrestlemania. So they didn't need to be there, but it was there nonetheless. So during their intros again, crowd was so into it, and there was a big fight feel to it because leading into this Cody Rhodes story has been so well built, or built up so well. And the Bloodline story, as you know, it's been what's keeping WWE programming alive probably in the past 2 years, because it's been so compelling and you don't know what to expect. As for the match, it started off slow and as expected, because they wanted to milk the crowd before they actually locked up, right? And again, I have to say that Roman Reigns has so good facial expressions. They're just on point. He knows how to evoke the he knows how to evoke the emotions of the match as they are happening. So that was nice. And when they eventually locked up, Cody started to heat up. And when Cody started to heat up, Roman did heel things by rolling out of the ropes and being a smartass and playing to the crowd. Of course, that got boos from the crowd, which was the appropriate thing to do, because again, they're trying to milk the crowd before they actually get into their back and forth. Then eventually Roman gets back into the ring, gets heat on Rhodes, hits him with a lot of shots. Rhodes tried multiple comebacks but was foiled by Reigns. Again, classic heel babyface interactions there. And then at some point in the middle of the match, they went to the floor, to the ramp, and Reigns slammed Cody into the ramp of the Wrestlemania ramp. And then Cody finally makes his comeback, and again they fought ringside for a while. Now, while it seemed like Cody was gaining momentum, again Solo comes out of the steel chair while the ref was checking on Roman Reigns, and he hit Cody Rhodes with the steel chair. For me, that interference kind of took away from the match, because again, I understand that the Bloodline, they're a heel group, but I guess personally and selfishly, I just wanted to see a one-on-one babyface versus heel match without any interference. But probably it wouldn't be a heel match with a heel doing heel things without with interference, right? So I guess so, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the interference there. And then eventually Solo trips up Cody Rhodes when Rhodes was on the rope. So this was the second time that he interfered in the match. Again, the official, for me, this was a bad spot, because clearly the official saw that, but when he started to see that, his head turned away and turned a blind eye, if you will. And from there on, he should have been thrown out. It was a kind of sloppy at that point. And then Reigns cleared out the announce tables on ringside, and he attempted a powerbomb, but Rhodes was able to reverse it into a backdrop. And again, at this point, the referees count was slow, so these competitors were burying the referees because they wanted all, I guess Rhodes and Reigns wanted all their SHIT done outside. And if the referee made a true 10 count, both of them would have been counted out, right? So again, referee not making the count buries the referee, and it was a sad thing to see at this point, right? And of course, things were able to pick up because Rhodes did a suicide dive to Reigns on the barricade onto ringside, and eventually Solo interfered again for the third time, this time with a belt slap. Now the referee didn't see the belt slap, but the referee heard the sound of the belt slap. So this prompted the referee to kick out Solo from the match, which was this interference at least was done well, but it was one interference too much for me, right? For me also, a question for all of you, and you can drop your comments and thoughts about this below. If he heard the belt shot, wouldn't Roman Reigns have been disqualified right away, right? Because of the belt shot? Let me know, guys, if your comments down below about that. Again, now for me, that was although it was well executed, I think Roman Reigns should have been disqualified right then and there, right? And then eventually Reigns tries to get the belt, which Solo used to slap Rhodes, and the ref tries to take it away from him. While that's happening, Cody sees his opening and hits Reigns with a super kick, and then hit Reigns with a crossroads. But Roman Reigns then kicks out. Thereafter, Reigns hit Cody Rhodes with a jawbreaker, then a Uranagi or rock bottom, but Rhodes kicked out. Then Reigns attempted his Superman punch, but it was countered into a pedigree by Rhodes. Again, another kick out by Reigns. These were great false finishes here. So at this point, the crowd was so into it because of the false finishes, and they were firmly behind Cody Rhodes to win this because, again, the story made sense. His father didn't win the championship, and it made sense for him to win the championship at this point. And then eventually, Cody attempts the disaster kick on the ropes, but is countered by Reigns into a Superman punch. And then again, Rhodes kicks out. This is awesome chance breakout. Then Reigns goes for a spear, but it was reversed into a rolling pin by Rhodes. Rhodes then hits Reigns with a figure four, and Reigns made great facial expressions as if he were gonna tap out. But Reigns then turns over the figure four and turns over the pressure to Rhodes. But Rhodes grabs the rope, and then a spear by Reigns, another kick out by Cody Rhodes. And here at this point, Reigns' facial expressions again were on point because if you notice at the start of the match, he was so confident. And as the match gradually progressed, you could see that doubt creeping in his face. And it was very clear from his facial expressions. And again, I have to say, Roman Reigns has come a long way from a lost guy with puppy dog eyes when every time he came out, didn't know what he was doing, was incorrectly pushed babyface in his early years, to this Roman Reigns who's full of confidence, who knows how to use his emotions and play to the crowd, and knows how to evoke the appropriate emotion for the match. He did a really good job here, and you could see in his face, he was shaking his head. His eyes were not as sure as they were compared to at the start of the match. And it made for really great TV and made for really great ring psychology. And he didn't have to do 100 moves just to get the point across, which is, for me, this is the epitome of how wrestling should be, right? A good mix of wrestling moves and ring psychology. Not all wrestling moves, because wrestling is not about all wrestling moves, ironically, right? So eventually Reigns got more heat on Rhodes and signals it's over. He does the shaking of his head like it's over, slow shaking, and then he puts the guillotine on Rhodes, which is one of his submission finishers. But when the ref checks Rhodes' arms, he's dramatically still there. He raises Rhodes' arms, and then one of his arms, and then when he drops the arm at the middle of it, it hardens, and that means he can't continue. Eventually, Rhodes breaks a guillotine, and Rhodes hits the ground and pound on Roman Reigns, reverses it, and hits the ground and pound. Again, Rhodes knocks down the ref, and both wrestlers collide. So this is the time you know that there's going to be interference here. And when he attempted the crossroads, speaking of Cody Rhodes, the Usos come out and super kick and 1D Rhodes. However, to the rescue of Rhodes, here comes Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, who, again, Cody Rhodes was a big part in mending their relationship. Speaking of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, so they went there and came out to take care of the Usos, and then when they did that, they went back into the ring. Speaking of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and they hit a stunner on Reigns and a Helluva kick on Roman Reigns as well. So for this part of the match, again, they were baby faces, and I know they wanted to get a pop out of KO and Sami Zayn, but I think it was weird for baby faces to interfere physically with the competitors in the match. Them fending off the Usos, I think, was okay because that's usual when you have a babyface who needs help. But for them to physically hurt Reigns during the match, it kind of took away from their purpose there, right? So I didn't like that part. But then Rhodes covers the Reigns, but again, Reigns kicks out again. So again, at this point, the crowd was crazy, and I really did not know what would happen, whether Cody Rhodes would be able to get over the hump and finally win the championship for his father, which was the whole story being told at this point, right? So it made sense for him to win. And then they did the spot where they were both exhausted and had strike exchanges, and the crowd was hanging on to every punch where they go ooh ooh ah. Then as to a homage to the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Cody Rhodes hits Roman Reigns with a bionic elbow, and at this point I thought to myself, by God, Cody Rhodes is gonna do it. But then he attempted his patented three successive crossroads, but much to my distraught, Solo Sikoa returns after being kicked out previously, and Solo spikes Rhodes, and then Reigns hits Rhodes with the spear. He covers Cody Rhodes, and then of course conveniently the referee's up, and 1, 2, 3. There you have it. Roman Reigns retains. My thoughts about the match. It was a good match from start until the finish, but I think the finish for me was one of the stupidest finishes I've ever seen. Right? You built up Cody Rhodes perfectly. The story was there. Everything made sense. From him redeeming his father for not ever winning the championship, to him going to AEW, to another company, and returning. And he had been so good in his promos and his in-ring work, and it seemed like everything was going his way. And WWE did the switcheroony, and sometimes the switcheroony bait and switch, it does wonders for stories. But I just think this was not the proper time to do that here, because when Reigns won, just the energy of the crowd was like, it was vacuumed. Like, what? It went from wow, what? That was it. The story's not finished, right? So for me, it was a really bad ending to a good match. Maybe also there were too many interferences. Solo Sikoa didn't make sense for him to come back. So I understand that as a heel, you always have interferences in your back pocket, especially with the bloodline, because they have the Usos and Solo. But for me, the finish just didn't make sense moving forward because it buries Cody Rhodes. I mean, where does Cody Rhodes go on from here, right? Yes, he will try to. Maybe he can win the championship at whatever the next pay-per-view is, WrestleMania Backlash. But the championship would not mean as much because he didn't win it the biggest show of them all, the Showcase of the Immortals, WrestleMania, right? So I was really disappointed in this finish, and I just hope that something else would happen, right? I wanted Cody Rhodes to win, and I think it was the perfect time for Roman Reigns to start the disintegration of the bloodline and for him to take a break, because we've seen so much bloodline. And I think Cody Rhodes with the championship, we could have seen so many interesting stories play out with him with the championship, maybe with a future program with Randy Orton or Edge, maybe John Cena, or all those big names. But now we have to deal with the remnants of the bloodline again, and how Cody Rhodes can possibly get back to the top. Just for me, it wasn't the right finish, and I was disappointed with the finish. And just like the crowd, we wanted Cody Rhodes to win. So yeah, kind of sad. So yeah, that was basically my review of WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2. I hope you were not tired listening to my ramblings about WrestleMania Night 1 and 2. And if you like this video, guys, you can always drop a like down below. And if you want to see similar content, I'll be reviewing WWE Raw next. You can always subscribe to my channel for future content. And if you have thoughts about WrestleMania, WWE, or AEW in general, or my comments about these programs, you can always drop a comment down below. And I'll get to these comments as soon as I can. And so this is the Casual Wrestling Fan. Till next time.